Welcome back to the channel, you guys. Today we'll be doing this massive wall, but before we get started, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. So for the balloon wall, you guys, I'll be using the floor lamps I purchased mine from Target. You can also find them at Walmart or IKEA, Amazon, I think. And then I'm using 5 pound weights that I purchased from Amazon. I will be linking everything I use in the description box. I use the 5 pound weights. I slide them down the pole so they can basically be more sturdy and hold up. And these are all disposable. Well, I told the venue, like, you can keep them, you can do whatever you want. I'm not coming back for it because you can also use your pipe and drape, but I don't want to come back and break down and do all that. So I like this method much better. And this is we building an 8x8 wall. So I was doing 2 clusters of 8 balloons at a time, while also throwing in, you guys know, throwing in my quads as well, because I wanted to do, now this, the way I built the wall, I won't recommend for beginners. I do have another tutorial on wall building, and I will link that in the description box as well. I'm doing it the more difficult way because of my preference, which is I like my colors to blend to the next color seamlessly. So building this way and using the quads allows me to do that. So in between the 2 clusters at a time, I'm also using quads like I'm doing right here. That is a quad of 4 balloons. And I'm now attaching that to the section so I can go into the next color seamlessly. And it doesn't look blocky like it's, because when you just do cluster, 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 you can see the lines in the design. So I was trying to avoid that as much as possible in the wall. And there's some places where you'll be able to see it a little bit later, like a line there too. But for the most part, it was blended pretty well. So this is why I was building it this way. And again, excuse me, everything is 2 clusters at a time plus quads here and there when it's time to go to the next color. And then each section I was doing at least 4 clusters, then the quad, wherever I was putting the quad at for the next color. But for each section I was doing at least 4 clusters at a time because I wanted big sections of one color. I didn't want it to be too busy, so I did do bigger sections of one color and not just 2 colors. Sorry, 2 clusters of one color, then to the next color 2 clusters. No, I was doing 4 clusters at a time for each section, so the color palette can really show and it's not too busy on the eye. So here I'm just going in. This is really simple at this point. For walls are really easy. I forget how easy walls are, in my opinion, because I was building a square wall. I don't have to focus too much on shape. We're really just trying to fill in the space as fast as possible. I actually built this wall probably in like an hour and 10 minutes roughly, and that's with the 5 inches I added on. I was in and out pretty quick, and of course that comes with experience, but it's really not that difficult in my opinion, because I'm not thinking about too much of the shape of it and all of that. It's just going to be a square wall, so I'm just trying to fill in the space as fast as possible, and there's so many methods you can use to do that. And this is just one of the ones I tried this time, but I'm definitely going to leave inshallah, the link to the previous wall I did a long time ago. And that method I think is great for beginners. It's pretty simple. You just go up, over, down, and then fill the middle one. And that method is great as well, but I do like this one a little bit better because I get to do bigger sections of one color and it's not blocky. It's like space, I mean, it blends better. The colors blends in this kind of option. So I do like this option a little bit better. So if you are a risk taker like me, then go ahead and you're a beginner, then I would say try it out. But if you want something, it's your first time, I think the other method will be a little bit better when doing it this way. And the poles, I would suggest definitely using the weights on the poles if you are doing something as big as an 8x8 foot wall, because it really helps with the lamps from moving, and it helps them from leaning too much, because that was one of my issues when I first tried using the floor lamp with doing a wall. I noticed they was leaning one side and they was lifting up. So using the weights, and these weights are flat, as you can see, they just sit right on top. They're perfect. And I got them from Amazon. It was a 4-pack. So they are great. And I also use them for my balloon columns. If they're outdoors, I'll do something like this instead of doing like that paver method, because it's just too much sometimes. And I believe I use, so how I calculate how many balloons I need, I usually, so 8 for a wall, I would do 8 times 8, which would give you 64 square feet. So I know I would need about 64 clusters. So I think I did a little bit over 64 clusters because I did the quads as well. So I had about 64 clusters plus the quads I had. So I ended up not using everything. I left with about 2 or 3 clusters, maybe 2 clusters I left with that I didn't end up using. So I inflated a little bit over, but it was still right at the 64 clusters that I needed. And that's including the quads that I was throwing in here and there. And some of the clusters had 2 16 inches in, like the one I just added there, that rare one, it had 2 16 inches in, and some just had 1 16-inch balloons with 8 11-inch balloons. So I was going back and forth. All clusters wasn't the same. Some was like all, like the gray, I didn't have any 16 inches. It was just all 11-inch balloons. The red, I was doing 2 16 inches in some of the clusters, and then some all 11-inch balloons. And then for the navy, I just had 16-inch and 11-inch too. So I was going back and forth doing both. And here I wasn't really doing anything. I'm trying to think. I didn't have a plan other than I'm just building a square wall. So I was just filling in the space as fast as I can to get done. And then I was just going back to sections that I needed to fill in to make the wall square. So here I was going back up top, just adding in a quad to blend in that navy and red section, and just filling it out so it's flat a little bit up top. It ended up working out on its own, like not trying to make it square, but I also made it square at the same time. But just using, you sometimes when you're on site, you just have to basically think on site and how you're going to design things and how things going to work out. It usually work out for itself for the most part. But here I just added another quad to finish that off. And I believe I'm going to add one on the side where the gray is at. And I had that cluster up top, and I noticed it was poking out and it wasn't leveling with the rest of the wall. So I took that off, and I believe I'm going to add a quad there just to flatten it out a little bit more. And then once I got to the bottom, it was pretty easy from there. There will be marquee numbers in front of here, so I wasn't really concerned about it being like, even though it was pretty much to the bottom, there's like a little space there. I wasn't concerned about it because I knew it would be marquee letters coming in the front, because this was for a graduation. I want to say high school. They was either graduating to go to college or leaving. I believe I think it was a high school and graduate. It was several different graduation events, because they had like 3 different cakes for 3 different of the graduates. So it was a lot going on, but they chose this color palette for one of the graduates for the school, the Florida Atlantic School, actually. And as you see, I had those 2 clusters. I think I had 3 clusters in. I seen a red and a gray. I think I had 3 clusters left. And here I'm just filling in some of the spaces that I seen, adding some quads here and there. So maybe 2 or 3 clusters. And for my 5 inches, I put them on, as you can see them hanging off the ladder. I did the 260Q method, where you do a 5-inch on one side, and then the 5 inches on one, the other 5 inches on the other end. So 2 on one 260Q. Because I knew when building a wall, I used my necks to neck method, and by the time you get to the end, you run out of a bunch of necks, and I'm not trying to dig through to look for a neck. So this was much easier to just wrap them around and put them in place really quickly. And this is the final results, you guys. This is how everything came out. And this is actually a repeat client. If you can find the video I did last year in the same venue, this is from that same client. So if you guys have any questions, I leave it in the comment box, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.